Let's play drums.
You want to have drums?
Barron Trump. This is the first time he's ever been Barron.
Tall son named Barron. Has anyone ever heard of him?
Barron Trump, the youngest son of Donald and Melania. Trump was born into luxury and has lived in it every single day since. Though his mother tried to shield him from the public eye during his childhood, keeping his life carefully guarded behind closed doors, Barron's world has always been one of unimaginable opulence. So extravagant, in fact, that many have called him the richest child in the world. But what truly defines the life of this young heir is his lavish lifestyle, simply the product of generational wealth or something far greater. Today, let us step into the hidden world of Barron Trump, the boy born in silk sheets, and uncover the secrets of his extraordinary upbringing. Before we dive into this captivating story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. That way you won't miss any of our exclusive stories about power, wealth, and the hidden truths behind the world's most talked about figures.
This is his television debut.
Oh, he's adorable.
He is beautiful.
Born on March 20th, 2006 in New York City, Barron Trump was quickly nicknamed the Little Billionaire. He is the only child of Melania, Donald Trump's third wife, and the youngest of Donald's 5 children. Melania, a Slovenian-born model who became America's first lady, and Donald, a man who would rise to serve as the 45th President of the United States, did not expect how soon their family would expand. Just 6 months after their lavish wedding, Melania discovered she was pregnant. "I expected we would have children one day," she later shared, "but I was surprised at how quickly it happened." Donald himself admitted he was caught off guard, though he ultimately embraced fatherhood with joy. When Barron was born, he weighed 8 pounds 8 ounces, but today he towers at 6 feet 7 inches, making him the tallest among all his siblings. His unusual growth spurt has often been jokingly linked to his life of privilege, as if luxury itself could make him grow taller, faster, stronger. From the very moment he entered this world, Barron was showered with gifts that most children could never even dream of. Friends of Donald and Melania, wealthy, famous, and powerful, welcomed the child with extraordinary presents. Ellen DeGeneres, for example, famously sent the couple a golden stroller complete with a miniature chandelier, a gift so extravagant that it left everyone laughing at its absurdity. Barron spent his early years in the Trump Tower penthouse on Fifth Avenue, New York, a 3-story palace worth over $100 million, filled with marble gold and grand ceilings. He even had his own private floor to paint, play, and dream. Melania often called him Little Donald for his striking resemblance to his father. Beyond the golden cribs and luxury, Barron also received an elite education at Columbia Grammar and Preparatory School, one of Manhattan's most prestigious institutions. By the time Barron was just 9 years old, his father had become the President of the United States. In 2017, the youngest Trump found himself moving from the Golden Towers of Manhattan to the most famous house in the world, the White House. It was a transition that very few children on Earth could ever imagine. And yet for Barron, it was simply another chapter in an already extraordinary life. After Donald Trump's inauguration as president, the White House became the new family residence. Yet Melania and Barron did not rush to move in. Instead, they waited for 5 long months before relocating to Washington, D.C., so that Barron could finish his 5th grade year at Columbia Grammar and Preparatory School in New York. Education for Melania came before politics. That final year was special. Not only was Barron completing his last term at Columbia, but he also gave his classmates a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. As the son of the president, Barron arranged for his entire 5th grade class, 80 excited children, to take a field trip to Washington, D.C., where they toured the White House and met the President of the United States, his father. On June 11, 2017, Barron officially joined his father at the White House and soon enrolled at St. Andrew's Episcopal School in Maryland. This choice surprised many, for unlike the Clintons, Bushes, and Obamas, who all sent their children to Sidwell Friends, a prestigious Quaker school, Donald and Melania chose differently. They placed Barron in one of the most exclusive and expensive preparatory schools in the country. But being the president's son also came with unwanted attention. Reporters, paparazzi, and tabloids attempted to invade Barron's privacy. Through it all, Melania fought fiercely to protect her child, ensuring he remained shielded from the relentless spotlight. During the Trump presidency, Barron's life in Washington was deliberately kept private. He avoided political events and media interviews, appearing only at family traditions, the annual White House Easter egg roll, the Thanksgiving turkey pardon in 2017, and a handful of holiday occasions. Yet despite Melania's careful protection, Barron was not spared from cruelty. He became the target of online bullying and in later years, even disturbing threats. In 2023, when he was still a teenager, one threat against his life was taken so seriously that it made national headlines. It was a sobering reminder of the heavy burden he carried simply for being Donald Trump's son. After Donald Trump left the White House in January 2021, the family relocated to Mar-a-Lago, their opulent estate in Palm Beach, Florida. Barron continued his studies at Oxbridge Academy, an elite private school where he spent his high school years. In May 2024, at the age of 18, Barron graduated. Both Donald and Melania proudly attended his commencement ceremony, marking not only an academic milestone, but also the beginning of Barron's journey into adulthood. Now the world watches with curiosity. How has growing up as Donald Trump's son shaped him, and what path will he carve for himself in the years to come? Too early to speak of Barron without first looking at Donald Trump, the man whose shadow looms large over his youngest son's life. Donald John Trump is an American politician, media personality, businessman, and the current 47th President of the United States. Before this historic return, he had already served as the 45th President from 2017 to 2021. For Donald, growing up was never a struggle. He had everything he could ever need. His father, Fred Trump, was a wealthy real estate developer who gave each of his children about $20,000 a year, an allowance which, adjusted for inflation, would equal over $265,000 annually in 2024. By contemporary standards, Donald was already a millionaire in his youth. Imagine how a life steeped in such extravagance would later shape his children, especially Barron, his only son, with Melania Trump. Donald's education combined privilege with discipline. He first studied at the private Q Forest School, where he earned a reputation as a bold, outspoken boy curious about business. Wanting stricter training, Fred Trump sent him to the New York Military Academy, where Donald adapted to a regimented military-style environment. Later, he spent 2 years at Fordham University before transferring to the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania. In 1968, he graduated with a degree in economics, laying the foundation for his future empire. In 1971, Donald Trump became president of his father's company, rebranding it and pushing into luxury hotels, casinos, and skyscrapers. The empire shined, but the 1990s brought bankruptcies that tested his survival. Refusing to fall, he reinvented himself with bold ventures, including Trump University in 2005, charging up to $30. By 2010, legal pressure forced him to rename it the Trump Entrepreneur Initiative. Beyond real estate, Trump transformed into a cultural phenomenon. From 2004 to 2015, he hosted the hit reality show The Apprentice, where his catchphrase, "You're fired," became part of American pop culture. Yet his success as a celebrity businessman was shadowed by endless controversy. Bankruptcies, lawsuits, and accusations followed him like storm clouds. According to a 2018 review by USA Today, Trump and his companies had been involved in more than 4,000 legal cases in both state and federal courts. For Donald Trump, empire building always came with drama, but drama was precisely what kept him at the center of America's attention. Documents later revealed shocking truths. Employees of Trump University were trained to use aggressive sales tactics known as the Hartle method, and former staff testified that the institution had deceived, even outright lied to its students. More than 70 lawsuits piled up, painting a damning picture. Despite the scandals, banks in the 1980s still lent Trump over $4 billion. But when his companies went bankrupt in the early 1990s, nearly every major financial institution turned its back on him except Deutsche Bank, which remained his last lifeline. After the Capitol attack on January 6th, even Deutsche Bank severed all ties, declaring it would no longer do business with him or his companies. Trump often told the world that his wealth was the fruit of his own ambition, claiming he started his real estate career with a small loan of $1 million from his father. Money he said he repaid with interest. But the truth was far greater. He had borrowed about $60 million from Fred Trump and failed to return most of it, while still inheriting an additional $413 million from his father's empire. In his relentless pursuit of prestige, Donald even phoned journalist Jonathan Greenberg in 1984, pretending to be his own spokesman to exaggerate his net worth for a higher place on the Forbes 400 list. By 2024, Forbes estimated his fortune at over $2 billion, ranking him 438th richest person in the world. Trump's flirtation with politics began in 1987 when he registered as a Republican. In 2000, he briefly declared a run for president under the Reform Party, but withdrew by February. 15 years later, in 2015, he announced his candidacy once more, this time for the 2016 presidential election. Against all odds, he defeated Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton, stunning the world. Yet his first term in office was anything but ordinary. Chaos, controversy, and division defined his presidency. He became only the third president in U.S. history to be impeached twice. The first impeachment came in 2019 when he was accused of abusing power and obstructing justice, pressuring Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky to investigate Joe and Hunter Biden for political gain. In 2021, following the storming of the Capitol, he faced impeachment again for inciting insurrection. Though acquitted both times by the Senate, the stains on his legacy were indelible. Scholars and historians ranked him among the worst presidents in U.S. history. He ran again in 2020 but lost to Joe Biden. Yet even in defeat, Trump refused to concede. He falsely claimed the election had been stolen, sowing doubt in democracy itself, and tried to overturn the results. By 2023, a storm of lawsuits engulfed him, allegations of assault, defamation, and business fraud. In 2024, history was made again, but in disgrace. Trump was convicted of falsifying business records, becoming the first U.S. president ever found guilty of a felony. A stunning fall from power, even as he campaigned once more for the presidency. And so the haunting question remains, who would entrust the future of America to a man burdened with so much scandal? Despite accusations, controversies, and a presidency many called divisive, Donald Trump made a shocking return. In 2024, against fierce criticism, and despite facing Kamala Harris, he won again. Even more stunning, 2 felony indictments vanished after his victory. By January 2025, Trump began his second term with bold, rapid moves, mass deportations, cuts to federal staff, yet also pardons for 1,500 January 6 rioters. Some saw a turning point, others a repeat of old storms. Polarizing as ever, he still leads one of the world's most powerful nations. But at home, he is simply husband and father, especially to his youngest son, Barron, Melania Trump's pride. Before Barron's story, we must look back into Melania's past and the love story that tied her fate to Donald's. Melania Trump's early life was far from the image of a glamorous first lady. Born as Melania Kanavs in Novo Mesto, then part of Yugoslavia, she grew up in Sevnica, where her father was a car dealer for a state-owned company, and her mother worked as a seamstress. Surrounded by the textile industry, young Melania discovered fashion, joining local shows, and later designing and sewing her own clothes under her mother's guidance. She was also a disciplined student, serving as school treasurer. In 1985, watching CNN and Ronald Reagan's presidency opened her eyes to America, planting early seeds of ambition that would one day lead her to the White House. Her international debut opened the way to American media and soon drew her into the world of global fashion. At 19, she graduated in design and photography from Ljubljana, then briefly studied architecture before leaving university behind. A young woman who walked away from college would later step into the White House as First Lady. But how did her path cross with Donald Trump's? Stay with us to discover that turning point. Melania's modeling career took root early in Slovenia, long before fame found her. At just 16, she was discovered by fashion photographer Stane Jerko during a school program. Though she once dreamed of becoming a designer, the industry kept opening doors and soon contracts followed one after another. Determined to reinvent herself, she adopted the name Melania, and by 23 had moved to Paris, where her career truly flourished. She modeled in Paris and Milan for top fashion houses, earned runner-up in Jana magazine's 1992 Look of the Year, and briefly signed with RVR Reclam. Then in 1995, fate introduced her to a co-owner of Metropolitan Models, an encounter that would forever change her life. Paolo Zampoli, a seasoned talent scout, immediately saw Melania's quiet elegance and urged her to take a leap move to the U.S. and pursue fashion. In 1996, she packed her dreams and landed in Manhattan. At 20, older than most aspiring models, she compensated with disciplined grace and a strong upbringing. Living clean and avoiding the chaos of parties, Melania stood apart in the cutthroat world of modeling. Melania valued privacy so deeply that she avoided Manhattan's party scene, choosing a quiet life instead. But in 1998, fate intervened when Paolo Zampoli introduced her to Donald Trump at a party. Donald was instantly captivated and asked for her number, but she refused, taking his instead. A week later, she called, leading to their very first date. From the very beginning, Melania played her cards with quiet confidence. She deliberately kept her distance, resisting his early flirtations, knowing that her calm resistance would only intrigue him more. As their relationship slowly unfolded, she gained access to his book, Trump: The Art of the Comeback, a personal manifesto in which Donald laid out his vision for life, business, and love. Through this, she began to understand the man behind the empire. And as their connection deepened, Melania's life began to shift. Her relationship with Trump not only brought her into the public eye, but also opened the door to new opportunities, a wider network, and a level of recognition she had never experienced before. Melania's modeling career reached new heights when she appeared at glamorous events with Donald Trump, soon rubbing shoulders with the world's elite. At a press conference, she proudly recalled being ranked among the world's top 50 highest-paid models, admitting that her relationship with Donald boosted her fame and secured her place as an international success. Though known as private and reserved, Melania always carried herself with elegance and professionalism, earning lasting respect in the fashion world. But Melania was not Donald's first great love. Because Donald Trump had children long before Barron was born, it was clear that he had gone through past relationships and marriages that ultimately ended, paving the way for his union with Melania. Donald's marital history is as dramatic as his business ventures, filled with passion, scandal, and public attention. His first marriage was to Ivana Zelnichkova, a striking Czech model, in 1977. Together, they had 3 children: Donald Jr., born in 1977, Ivanka, born in 1981, and Eric, born in 1984. For a time, they appeared to be the perfect power couple, but the marriage unraveled in 1990 after Donald's highly publicized affair with actress and model Marla Maples. In 1993, Donald married Marla Maples, and they welcomed their daughter Tiffany. But the marriage soon ended, and by 1999, Marla had moved to California to raise Tiffany away from Trump's spotlight. Around that time, Donald met Melania. They dated for nearly 6 years before marrying, with Melania slowing her modeling career to devote more time to him. By the late 1990s, their relationship was already a public fascination. Donald proudly showed her off while keeping her away from his business dealings. Unlike his first marriage, where business roles were shared, Melania's strength came from loyalty and quiet support. During campaigns, she played a subtle yet vital role, something Donald often admitted. When asked what kind of first lady she would be, Melania simply said, "Very traditional." Like Betty Ford or Jackie Kennedy, a glimpse of her belief in elegance, tradition, and silent strength. After 6 years together, Donald proposed to Melania on her birthday, April 26, 2004, just before the Met Gala. Months later, in January 2005, they wed at Bethesda by the Sea Church in Palm Beach, with a dazzling reception at Mar-a-Lago, attended by celebrities and power figures. Their union soon welcomed a son, Barron William Trump, as they stepped into a life forever under the world's spotlight. For Barron, life came with both privilege and peculiarities. As the only son of Donald and Melania and the youngest of Donald's 5 children, he grew up with 4 much older half-siblings, Ivanka, Donald Jr., Eric, and Tiffany. The age gap was striking, ranging from 13 to 29 years. Remarkably, Barron became an uncle while he was still a child himself, with nieces only a year younger than him. This unusual family dynamic only added to the fascination surrounding his life. Often dubbed the richest kid in the world, Barron's lifestyle has fueled endless speculation. But the question remains, what truly makes him deserving of that title? Is it merely because his father was born into wealth? Or is it because Barron himself embodies a future shaped by unimaginable privilege? Whether it is through family legacy or the immense fortune his father has built for him, Barron Trump's life unfolds like that of the richest child in the world. His every step seems wrapped in privilege and opulence, making us wonder what hidden secrets lie inside his luxurious existence. Stay tuned, because we are about to dive deeper into the fascinating life of this extraordinary heir. Some may argue that Barron is not literally the richest child alive, yet he was born into a dynasty of wealth and power. His grandfather, a shrewd business tycoon, secured millions through clever investments and carefully guarded properties. These were passed down and reserved for his children from the time they were young, ensuring that each generation inherited more than just a name, they inherited a lifestyle. Donald Trump himself grew up surrounded by wealth, attending one of the finest schools in town while living in a sprawling estate. Inspired by his father, Donald followed the same path, building a real estate empire and pursuing ambitious ventures. Despite controversies and bankruptcies that shook his career, he regained his footing and continued to live extravagantly, never shying away from a life of grandeur. His determination was clear. He wanted his children to live even more lavishly than he once did. Barron, from the very moment he was born, knew nothing less than luxury. He spent his early years inside a $100 million penthouse in Trump Tower, a residence so grand it covered an entire floor. Unlike most children who dream of a cozy bedroom, Barron had an entire penthouse level to call his own, complete with favorite snacks, personalized toiletries, expensive toys, and everything a child could possibly desire. His nursery was no ordinary room, but a kingdom filled with oversized stuffed animals, a private kitchen, a living area, and even quarters for his mother and nannies. But Barron's life was destined to become even more unique. In 2017, when his father became the President of the United States, Barron stepped into a world that very few children will ever know: the White House. He remains the only child of Donald Trump to have lived there. His quarters inside the presidential mansion were nothing short of remarkable, with access to a private cinema, a bowling alley, a swimming pool, and even a jogging track. While other children could only dream of such a life, for Barron it was simply home. And it wasn't just his living environment that reflected privilege, his education mirrored it too. From prestigious preparatory schools to elite academies, Barron's schooling cost tens of thousands of dollars every year. At St. Andrew's Episcopal School in Maryland, tuition alone reached $50,000 annually, later followed by the prestigious Oxbridge Academy. Each institution he attended was a statement of excellence, positioning him not just as the son of a billionaire, but as a young man destined to inherit influence, intellect, and immense wealth. After Donald Trump's presidency, Barron continued his studies in Florida, paying $38,000 a year in tuition. Instead of strictly following family tradition, he carved his own path. At 18, he chose to study at NYU's Stern School of Business, turning down other top universities his father proudly mentioned. Unlike many college freshmen, Barron doesn't live in a dormitory. Instead, he resides at Trump Tower and commutes to class each day, often under the close watch of Secret Service agents. Beyond the wealth and luxury that surround him, what stands out most is how his parents raised him. Melania, his mother, has always insisted that her primary role in life is to be present for her son, despite her demanding schedule. Both Donald and Melania rejected the idea of relying too heavily on outside help in raising him. Donald once remarked, "If you have too much help, you will never truly understand your child." Melania has described motherhood as the most important job of all, and she worked hard to stay close to Barron. She ensured he remained fluent in her native Slovenian, even while keeping him away from the chaos of Donald's political campaigns. Yet Barron could not avoid politics entirely. In July 2024, he appeared at his first campaign rally in Doral, Florida. There, he was photographed smiling and raising his fist, quickly becoming a public sensation. Many even claimed he outshone his older brothers Don Jr. and Eric. At the rally, Donald joked that his youngest son sometimes gave him political advice, and that advice mattered. Barron's influence extended beyond appearances. He played a key role in helping his father connect with younger voters. In fact, Donald personally thanked Barron after securing victory in the 2024 election. Behind the scenes, Barron was even considered the architect of Trump's selective podcast strategy, advising his father to appear on shows with massive youth audiences like Aiden Ross's Stream and Joe Rogan's podcast. According to the Center for Information and Research on Civic Learning, Barron's strategic input was effective. Nearly 56% of male voters aged 18 to 28 supported Trump in 2024. Despite these public glimpses, much of Barron's personal life remains private, carefully guarded by his mother. He has no social media presence, a rarity for someone his age. Yet in September 2024, he surprised many by opening an account on X, formerly Twitter. His very first post wasn't about fashion, sports, or parties, but rather a call to support his father's new cryptocurrency platform. This rare move sparked curiosity. Could Barron, often dubbed the richest kid in the world, be preparing to step into his own spotlight? So what do you think of Barron Trump and his extravagant lifestyle? Does he embody the next chapter of the Trump legacy, Or is he destined to carve a story entirely his own? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You can also check out more videos now showing on your screen.